All right, my name is Antonio Brown.
Irvin Bryant
Shout out to the DJ for making our beat
at DW Made That on social media,
and follow us on social media.
at Kinda Woke on Instagram and Twitter, Relatively Conscious everywhere else. Like, follow, subscribe, and stop the Asian hate.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about that today. So I'm just going to set the stage real quick about what's happening right now. There's been a rise in hate crimes against Asian Americans. Some of it's due to coronavirus. Some is due to historical hate, historical racism. Between the Black community and the Asian American community. And so most of the coronavirus hate crimes are perpetrated by white people, but some of the more economical, beating up old people crimes were committed by Black people. So it culminated with a spree killing in Atlanta done by a white man, right?
This is true.
Yeah, white man. His reasonings are weird. I'm not going to get into that because I'm letting him, whenever he goes to trial, he'll give his reasonings for real.
He said what he said. I don't think it's going to change.
Yeah. He said Asian women were temptation, right?
But he didn't say Asian women. So he really said it's not about race. And he said it was these day spas. Some are saying massage parlors. Depending on the person, that's also a telling story. You know, what are these businesses? But yeah, he said basically, you know, that was a sexual temptation for him. The implication is that it's a front or business for a little sex work, which is illegal in the U.S. You know.
Yes.
But you know, critics say, and I am a critic. I'm not gonna lie. I smell BS, but whatever.
I would say crazy people don't lie. Crazy people are crazy. They kill people. They do insane things. They don't lie. So that's my one. I'm like, if he said that's what it was, that's probably what it was. Even the son of Sam, he said a dog told me to fucking kill those people. And he stuck to that to the end of his days. And people really were like, he was lying about that. And I'm like, I don't think so.
Which one was the one that Zac Efron played? And people were like, he was too cunning and too handsome in the movie, and we don't like portraying our serial killers that way.
Ted Bundy. And so Ted Bundy killed because Ted Bundy could get away with it, basically. So
he said what?
Ted Bundy killed because Ted Bundy could get away with killing people.
Yes.
Yeah. So like,
but he lied to cover. I mean, to get away with it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm too slick. He's you know he's a sociopath. I'm too slick, and I can do it, and I can do whatever I want to do.
Once the gig was up, though, he stopped lying. He said, "Yeah, I always fantasize about tying women up. I always fantasize about bashing it." That sounds so wrong. Bashing their heads in, and he was like, "Yeah, that's." They're like, "What got you to that point?" And he's like, "I used to read old pornographic comic books, which them old detective books from like way back in the day before we started censoring our comics." Yeah, I mean, look at Wonder Woman. Her old book.
Wonder Woman was always getting tied up on the cover too. It's like y'all are weird, bro.
Yeah, and so the old crime noir, through the crime noir novels, comic books, they were weird. They were really weird and really got into that smut, as they call it. But anyway, let's get into historical context real quick. Of course, there's the history of racism against Asians in America, mainly starting in California when it came over as immigrants. They worked very heavily on building the transatlantic railroads, them and African American transcontinental railroads. Asian Americans in the West and African Americans in the South. John Henry is about a Black man building a railroad in Texas.
If we may make a pit stop, because there's a lot more points we can touch on really fast.
Yeah.
There's a number of Asian exclusion acts. America's first mitigation of immigrants coming from any other part of the globe is against Asians because they would quote, and this is not a quote, paraphrase, excuse me. To paraphrase, they would detract from the Americanness of the California territory because they're not white, so we need white people in charge.
They wouldn't let them bring their wives over, just men.
Yeah, it was a bunch of dudes. It was just a gang. Anyway, Japanese internment camps. Didn't forget about that.
Yeah.
Just for the big ones, you know.
Yeah. And
So,
also,
oh, go ahead.
every Chinatown, every Koreatown, is a product of racism. They lived in the same neighborhoods because they were forced to live there.
It's called a ghetto. I
Yeah.
mean, we know about the ghetto.
Yeah, basically.
That's what that is, and they've been there for so long and built up over time. But believe you me, in 1875 in San Francisco, it was a ghetto as we know them today. Lots of crime. Police didn't even go over there. It was run
Yeah.
by the gang. A ghetto.
Yeah. Here in Houston, by Bel Air, I guess we would consider it to be Chinatown and over in that area.
Yeah, there's a few different big Asian communities. Houston's really diverse and particularly very Vietnamese and Taiwanese. So
yeah, and so also we the Houston Rockets drafted the first Chinese-born basketball player, which would be Yao Ming. The racist jokes that came out when that man started playing in NBA was ridiculous. If I remember correctly, Shaq said he was going to turn to Kung Pao Chicken. Yeah, so that's on television. You can watch that. He said it. And then Charles Barkley said he'll kiss a donkey if he scored more than 5 points when he played Shaq. And then he played it pretty well.
Yeah, he's a professional basketball player.
Yeah, and so they forced Charles Barkley to kiss a donkey's behind. It's pretty funny. One thing about Charles Barkley, if he decides to be racist, he will eat crow if necessary on television for everybody,
or eat donkey.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, so there's all these acts against Asian Americans immigration, and so anyway, going in 1992 back against LA riots. So Rodney King gets beat by 5 police officers. There's a court case about it, and they get off scot-free. And LA goes insane, if I may say it so lightly. They basically try to burn the city to the ground. It's an episode of A Different World, is it not?
It is.
The last episode of Cosby Show was airing during that time, and one thing the LA mayor said was, "Can I just go home and watch the Cosby Show and stop burning my city to the ground?" Also, a white truck driver is dragged out of his truck and beaten to a pulp during the riots. They put Rodney King on TV to say, "Can we all just get along?" The 92 riots are ridiculous. Tupac's first album, Tupacalypse Now, to really get a feel of how bad it was. Let me show my screen real quick. But anyway, why the 92 riots matter for us is because during the riots, a lot of Korean shops and Asian American shops were burned to the ground. And some Korean Americans took to guarding their stores with guns to keep themselves from being killed. It's really we really see the split in history in how you view what happened here, right? So there's a couple different pictures of it real quick. This is the guy with his gun on his top of his store. If you are an Asian American, you view this as them standing up for themselves because the police abandoned them. If you're African American, and the way I've always heard it, well, the way I heard it from people who weren't my parents and weren't knowledgeable, was that the Asian Americans basically were killing people for no reason. And they've always been racist. And this is another point of them trying to be racist and hold on to what little they had in the Black community.
Yeah, that's an interesting distinction to make between the Asian narrative and the Black narrative, where self-defense man right here defending his store, it's a riot, y'all running up in here, beating people down, stealing stuff from the store, burning down the store, not me, a logical response.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the Black response. I mean, you just said it, he's trying to shoot me because he never liked us. I mean, did he like you though? But did you earn his distrust?
Yeah.
Disdain. And that's, chicken or the egg type situation. And I really think it's a worthless argument to have a chicken or the egg argument between, did we do the Asians wrong and they didn't trust us? Or did the Asians never trust us because they bought into the white man's lies about us, or they had their own lies about us because they were racist overseas and then they came over here? I don't care. I don't care who did it first.
Yeah.
Uh, Stop it, stop, please stop.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
the Chinese did not build America, nor did the Koreans, Japanese, Taiwanese, Malay, none of them. You know, they just got here and tried to make their way. And you know, unlike all the reparations and structural inequalities that, you know, we always have a beef with white supremacy. Okay, it's got to be deconstructed. Far less so with another immigrant group. Far less so. Rainbow Coalition time. Squash the beef. Please respect me. I'll respect you, and we can keep pushing.
yeah, the one thing, the real reason I find the distinction to be something worthy of talking about is because I see it now. I see the distinction now as you talk about the current rise of Asian hate. That the responses, people respond on Twitter, right? So like these are average day Black people's responses in their comments. They're like, nah, them. I go into the store, they don't like me. Forget them. I don't care. It's whatever. You know, I wasn't doing it. You know, I'm not worried about it, basically. It really, I don't, if to me, it feels like we get mad when people see us die on video by the hands of the cops, and white people say, well, you should have cooperated and not resist. We really dislike that. We really like hate that response. Yeah. And so should we not also like feel how they feel, the Asian Americans feel when their property got burned to the ground by a bunch of knuckleheads and you know they lost their valuables? Our response is, well, that wasn't me and it's whatever because you know it's the white supremacy fault. Because that kind of it feels dismissive. Just dismissive it is to say you shouldn't resist it. It's dismissive to say, oh, it's white supremacy fault, and that's who burned down your store. Not a bunch of Negroes who ran up in there and burned that actually down. Is white supremacy fault.
Hottest take I think that I have on this.
Yeah.
Is that this is an opportunity, Black people, and I'm summoning the Kingian ethic. Okay, this is Black revolutionary in the Hebrew agape love straight from the pulpit. Okay, but it's a part of our tradition. This is very Black. Do not, you know, try to say that I'm not holding it down. This is an opportunity for us as Black people, the moral backbone of the United States for the entire time that we've been here, at least at our best, for us to model the racial contrition and humbly accept our role, seek to amend it, you know, defeat and shun those who are hating within our ranks, and model that kind of response that we haven't seen from white people. Whenever there is a large, you know, racial injustice, there's always a large contingent of white people who's like, nah, it wasn't about race. It wasn't this, it wasn't that. You're lying. You know, they don't trust. They don't think Black Lives Matter, whatever. All lives matter. They do something stupid. We are doing that now. It is not the same as white people. You know, all the systemic white supremacy. Yes, I understand. We are not the same. This is not the same, but the behavior is, the denial is. And so if we want the response to us to be of empathy, love, and understanding, or at least one of them, respect, one of them, then this is a perfect opportunity for us to model that. And I know in our current zeitgeist, Negro zeitgeist, we don't want to, you know, we're not humble. We don't, it's not time for humility. It's time for thumping our chest and to point the finger, and we're not accepting any fingers pointing at us because we've been taking that for our whole time we've been here. That's what has gotten us this far. Okay. King was like, yo, let me show you some nonviolence and maybe I can get some nonviolence back. Let me show you some contrition, some humility, some, okay, I will accept the blame. And literally it doesn't have to be you because it's show ain't me. But I know him. You know them, blame them, shame them, get rid of them, and hopefully they can do the same with all the tiki torch whites.
Yeah,
and the Asian community, by the way. If we can do it, then they can do it, and we can solve the problem.
Yeah, I heard what you said, and I just know that people's response to that's going to be like a violent.
It's not. It's my hottest take. It's my hottest.
Yeah, their response to that can be a violent no, like no, you know, basically. you shall not pass Gandalf style no to what you just said. Because what do you mean? I got to show what you're supposed to do to me. You know, I'm a human being. You should just do that off back.
I mean, you should, but you're not.
Yeah.
I know that's not gonna happen. I mean, it hasn't been happening. We've been here for too long. You know what's gonna be.
Yeah. And so my problem is that one thing, just historically, we've always had a problem in the Black community. We frame Asian people's presence in our community incorrectly over and over and over again. So when we talk about how they're owning stores in our communities, right? That's because it can't buy property anywhere else. So when you red line districts, as people talk about,
they are victims too. And I think you bring up you said it and you weren't saying what I was thinking you were saying, but we look at their presence in a weird way. We look at their presence in the white supremacist way because the American narrative of the Asian presence in America is that it is alien. All right. Let's notice that in all references, popular references to Asian people living in America, like it's Afro-Americans. White Americans are just, they are Americans, right? They're the most American of all of us, according to them. Native Americans are Native Americans. Mexican Americans, I live in Texas, and we do just call them Mexicans.
And I think we do view the Mexican Americans the same way.
Yes, because it's an invasion. So they're just Mexicans. Asians are just Asians. Even if they have been born, they've been here for depending on who you're talking about, generations. Just as long as, not just as long as some slaves, or descendants of slaves, but for a very long time, honestly, like generations to where they don't, they have lost, a lot of them have lost their language or just don't know it. I don't want to say lost.
Yes.
And the initial immigrant, the first immigrant to their family is over 150 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, like American to the socks, but no. That's them Asians. They always come over here trying to start some mess, trying to take over. They implant themselves in this community, implant themselves in that community, and they want to take over. Not in my house. That is the white man's narrative by which the Asian Exclusion Acts began, Chinese Exclusion Acts in particular, began in 1870s. Cut it out.
Yeah. And so, so we talk about, so even like just rap lyrics that we can just start naming off the top of my head. I know Nas's lyrics about we buy clothes and items at their store to send their kids to school, right? And it's like how we keep giving them our money. And Farrakhan is notorious for doing that. And that
I hate to give him credit.
Well, because I know he said we should model them.
I was about to say he's not really roasting them. He's really just saying we should copy their model, I guess.
But it always feels weird when he says that. It always sounds like it's just,
I mean, it's definitely othering. It's othering for sure. But that's not beyond them. I mean, it's the least shocking thing that he would do.
Yeah, and so we talk about Arabic Americans the same way. So Middle Eastern Americans, we just call them Arabics. Or Indian Americans, so when we see their presence owning a store as if it was something they took from us, but like they can only buy a store in the hood because they couldn't buy a store anywhere else. And so I know to be anything in America, to give my kids anything, I gotta own some property. And so once I can buy property, it's in a Black neighborhood where no one wants to buy property here. So I'm gonna buy property, put up a store. I know this business model works, but I'm going to send my kid off to college. We always talk about it as if they invaded our space. And it's an issue.
They was just trying to get in to fit in.
Yeah.
And we bought the BS. They bought some BS too, because they didn't trust us off rip, because the white man definitely told them a lie. But y'all, get it together.
Yeah. Lastly, I would say is that what it really boils down to, we don't know how to talk about crime, about like Black people committing crimes. Like we don't know how. So let me give the framework basically, because the other time we saw this when it was 2019, Hebrew Israelites were attacking Orthodox Jews. And I'm gonna share my screen real quick so I can show this article. All right, so the last time we had this issue was in 2019 when Hebrew Israelites were shooting Orthodox Jews, right? Or they were hitting them in the head with bricks. Different things like that, right? We had this issue of hate crimes against Jewish Americans, mainly the Orthodox Jews, Jewish people who you can tell they're Jewish and different because they dress differently off bat, and they were the ones who were getting straight up manhandled in the streets by Hebrew Israelites or the people of that sector. And it kind of went on the radar. We didn't talk about a whole lot. It was happening in the end of 2019. And so coronavirus kind of hit right afterwards. So we didn't really get a whole lot of chance to dwell on it. This is, again, a common thread that when we talk about crime and Black people, we really get confused. I think it's because we saw the 13th, documentary. We decided to talk about crime differently because we didn't like how we did it in the 90s. And so we got to change how we talk about it. But we didn't figure out how to change how we talk about it. Now we're just at not really talking about it, or it's blame white supremacy. Is how
yes. But here's the real issue. So first of all, yeah, you're 100% right. Can't blame white supremacy for everything. That's why I said this is an opportunity for us to just like change. Black people, we're not stupid. White supremacy is definitely, I mean, it's America, but it's definitely a factor in life in general. But you have agency. Every single Black person has agency. You chose to sell or smoke that crack. You chose to fight, shoot, kill. I mean, if you went to jail for a violent crime, you're going to jail for a violent crime. I'm here for commuting all these weed sentences because that's stupid. But if you rape somebody, you're getting locked up, right?
Or if
crime is crime.
If you decide to do a drive-by and shot somebody in the 90s, and you're like,
you're done. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
you gotta go, and I want to see you locked up. I want to see it happen.
Yeah, because some people are saying I'm a victim of mass incarceration. Oh, what you do? Well, I was part of the Bloods, and I shot a Crip in LA in like '93.
You killed.
I don't know, man. I think you deserve to be in jail.
You killed your brother, bro.
Yeah,
it's not. Yeah, it's criminal. But here's what I'm saying: can't blame that on nobody. And if we accept that role in the narrative, where we are just being manipulated, we're pawns at that point. Okay, if we are not wholly responsible for our own actions, either we're stupid or we're lesser in some way. It doesn't feel right. Shout out John McWhorter for being like the pioneer of this argument, right?
Yeah.
That the popular liberal way of dealing with talking about Black people has that kind of white liberal racism that hits you with a judo move that you didn't see coming. Where it's like, wait, hold up. I thought you were on my side, but the way you just described me made me sound like I didn't get played by the white man. Wait, hold up.
Yeah.
And it's weird though, because when it comes to these stats about crime in 2020, 2021, pandemic era, the numbers are super weird. What qualifies as a hate crime varies place to place. You got to do it on a case-by-case basis. But there are just videos. That's what we go, because I try to aggregate, right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard. And this is literally, that's a quote from experts on the matter, where definitions of crime vary from place to place, says Jack McDevitt, the expert on crimes from the FBI. So it's hard. But there's video of a young black man, name goes by the name Muhammad, who shoves a Thai man in the streets of San Francisco. Okay, another Thai man, and they're elderly, getting shoved to the ground by a brother in somewhere else in the Bay Area. Another got beat down. He survived, and all these guys have been arrested. By the way, we know who they are.
Yeah,
you can look it up. I mean, just getting. It's disgusting. I mean, there's sure, all the systemic stuff for sure, all the banter. Yeah. Okay. But, you beating out old people, dude, like walking down the street.
Yeah.
No. We have something to answer for. We have a problem that we have to deal with. If we're going to stop, hate at all, if any lives is going to matter, then, let's stop the Asian hate. Let's get it popping.
One, we're not 5 years old. So if I have my little cousins, right? Mm-hmm. If they do something they have no business doing, they are a child. So, they
didn't know better.
They didn't know better, right? You know better. We want to blame the American school system, blame everything else for being horrible. You can read, pick up a book, read. You got the internet in front of you. You know better. There's certain things I shouldn't have to tell you not to push a Thai man to the ground. Like that's not. There's nothing there that you need to learn about, right? Um,
And leave him for
and
dead. By the way, the man's dead.
oh yeah. So that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like it's you're a murderer, bro.
Yeah. And then also we aren't so perilous. You know, we're not a damsel in distress. We're not tied to the railroad tracks that we need somebody to save us, you know. Because that's not how I view myself as a man or how I view our race as someone needs somebody to help us out all the time, right? Um, we can figure this out. We can do what we need to do. We can answer for our sins just as much as we can ask for help in the same way, right? Um, I think white liberals should check themselves when they do start doing that type of stuff because it's ridiculous. Because I know they want to be helpful. So the whole like we should think about white supremacy in this matter. They want to be helpful. It's like you're running a blog for like the Brookings Institute. We're supposed to be thinking everything at a higher level. Sure. But if you're just tweeting about this, I don't know if that should be the first thing out your mouth is that we should think about white supremacy and is all this. Because like the first thing you should say is, hey, stop messing with Asian Americans. B, stop blaming them for being racist towards you because that's not how it always goes. And then C, there's a conversation to have about white supremacy and all this, right? It should be the last thing we talk about is white supremacy rolling on this. It shouldn't be the first thing out of our mouth because that makes it feel as if you slapped Tommy, but I'm going to point to Jimmy over there for forcing me to do it, right? That's not how that works. And lastly, my last point is that we just watched Judas and the Black Messiah. And this is why I think the movie has some problems because what makes Black Panthers and Fred Hampton himself so revolutionary and so scary is that the Rainbow Coalition required them to put some of the bigotry that we have, you know, or scars we have aside, and decide that to be greater and to have a socialist movement as in his mindset, we needed to be one in accord, basically. And that thinking was so revolutionary that Stokely Carmichael leaves the Black Panthers. There are people who were part of the Black Panthers at a point in time who left the Black Panther Party because they did not like the fact that they were willing to work with Puerto Rican Americans, white Americans, Asian Americans, in Texas with Tejano Americans, right? They were willing to work within those movements because we figured out our best bet as Black people was to work as one accord in a class movement, right? And that's what made Fred Hampton so dangerous. I had to put 40 shots into his house, you know, I had to go in there with guns blazing because I found it to be too dangerous. And what we're doing now is us versus them. And, you know, the separation, that makes it a lot easier for me. You know, if I'm white supremacy, that does make it a lot easier for me to operate if you're going to separate your own selves. You know, there's a lot of people, you know, loving on Fred Hampton in his memory, a lot of people invoking his name, but you're not doing what he wanted when he ventured us doing, basically. You know, many people say, Lord, Lord, did I not cast out demons in your name? He said, depart me, for I never knew you. You know, yeah, I keep saying I'm in a vein of this guy. I want to be this guy. You know, that's that movement I'm trying to have. But you're not trying to do that movement though.
I'm on your head, boy. How dare you? Not you, but the audience member, which I mean, I guess this is what we're doing in this installment.
Yeah.
I seen commentary that goes, oh, stop the Asian hate. But let's recontextualize. Elijah McClain, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, 2020. Don't forget, it's Black Lives Matter in this thing. How dare you? Because when it's our time, right? When all those happened, right? Summer 2020, it was going dying. We didn't want to hear nobody else talk about nothing. We was white women, get out the way. Okay, everybody got this struggle. You know, it's hard in this life. Things are not fair. But when we are mourning, shut up. And I vibe with that. The Bible says mourn with those who mourn. So when you hurt, you hurt. Shut up. Okay, it's mourning all the time for us. You can make that argument, but I'm not in mourning all the time as a black man. Okay, and when you nail, nail, day spa, whatever, massage, whatever they was doing in there. When your businesses get shot up, and when your elderly are getting murdered, at the blue, shut up. It's cool. Like it's all right for a second to shut up. It's really gonna be okay. You're gonna be all right.
Yeah.
Black people, we've been here the whole time, and we're gonna be here tomorrow when the next thing happens. But if we gonna build any kind of coalition solidarity, shut up. Like that baffled me, and it really got me heated because I'm like, me growing up in the neighborhood I grew up in, Asians galore. Filipinos and Vietnamese was my main friends. Filipinos, Vietnamese, Taiwanese, and it's good people. Mm-hmm. It's all Gucci. I got a black family. I got some Asian friends. It's all love. And it's just, I would never. I could not dare when they come to me talking about they shot up my family's business. But don't forget that they had us enslaved for 400 years. How dare you?
Yeah. What does it got to do with what I'm talking about right now? Yeah.
That's when the N-word come out. Then it's gonna be a real fight. Yeah.
Because if they were burned across on your front porch,
and then they come out, oh, don't forget about the Chinese Exclusion Act. Yeah, it's gonna be hands, bro. Don't come to me talking about that.
It feels the same way. It feels ridiculous, and and we laugh because it's cartoonish.
It's cartoonish. It's stupid.
Yeah, and we're not children, so like we know better. We know better than that. But anyway, my name is Tony Brown.
Irvin Bryant.
Peace.
Do it to him,